All right, all right, all right, folks, we are super duper excited. This is your checkpoint as a new agent. So over the past 2 months, you maybe have gotten started. You went through the Crash New Agent Training course. You got field trained up. Maybe you're the agent that's already been out there for a couple of days. And Laura Sisco and I are about to drop some wisdom nuggets onto you guys because you need to understand that there's a check-in, right? It's not just releasing you folks, getting that amazing communication when it comes to your coaches. But hey, listen, there's things in this that we need to make sure that you're doing correctly, right? And then also that it's almost this, hey, look, how do you measure up when it comes to the 5 pillars, okay? So when we're really looking at your success, I want you to write this down, okay? Your success needs to develop a rhythm. So as a new agent, you're still in this 90-day learning curve. So what's the rhythm that you really want to try and figure out here? The rhythm that you want has to figure out with the 5 pillars. So when you're doing this rhythm here, how are you measuring up when it comes to the leads, the presentation, communication, schedule, and your standards? Do you physically do what you say you're going to do, right? Okay, so are you measuring up, or are you actually being ruled by randomness? Are you being ruled by distractions? Are you studying this thing? Are you mastering it, or are you winging it, right? Everything depends upon how you physically measure up when it comes to mastering those 5 pillars. So the 90-day learning curve, are you ready for this? Please write this down. How is your stride? You want to get to 100 presentations as fast as possible. The person that does 100 presentations the fastest, guess what? Wins. Because right now you're in this practice mode. You are practicing, you're shooting that basketball and you're saying, okay, coach, how was my follow through here? And so that's when it comes to the 100 days, I'm sorry, not 100 days, but 100 presentations, that's your stride. Not 100 presentations in 12 months, but how can you measure it up in 90 days? Can you do 100 presentations in 90 days? That's what we're looking for. Laura, what is really the big goal that they really want to achieve as a new agent?
So you just want, like you said, it's that rhythm, but it's really shooting for that 10K club. I think that every single person that comes aboard, your first goal that you should shoot for is 10K club, $10,000 in production, issued business, because that shows that you know what you're doing. And so we have all of these goals. We always break down all the goals, but that is the number one goal that shows that you know what you're doing. And, it helps us figure out if there's anything that we can do to help you. I love how you talked about getting into the rhythm. I remember being in my learning curve and, being on the side of the road, trying to go from lead to lead, and no one was home that day. And I just said, if I can just focus on leads, presentation, communication, schedule, attitude, and activity, AKA standards, now I can be successful. It was like a light that went off for me. And when you get into that rhythm, this business becomes very predictable. Your goal also is to make this business as predictable as possible. The only thing that's not predictable about it is who? You as a human being, right? And so, through your activity tracker, which we'll go over in a little bit, through, you focusing on just the 5 simple areas of our system, we can actually figure out, kind of those points to kind of help you with. Let's see here. Clients will perceive you how you perceive yourself, right? And so do you perceive yourself as a confident broker, right? And so confidence comes from what? Competence. Are you competent in your presentation? If I were to call you out right now, have you come off of mute? Do you know the 10 steps of the presentation? And not only the 10 steps of the presentation, but why each step is the step that it is, and in what order, like why is it in that order? If it makes sense to you, guess what? It will flow like super easy, super natural, right? And so the only way that they can perceive you is as an expert is if you see yourself as an expert, right? This is the thing, guys. Even if you're in your 90-day learning curve, which all of you guys are, you know more than they do, right? Have you passed the state exam? Have you learned the 10 steps of the presentation? Have you been field trained? Have you made a sale? Have you closed a sale? Have you helped somebody in some form or fashion? Obviously, hopefully all your hands are a yes, right? So you are the expert, right? You know more than they do. And so you go to the house with that confidence of knowing that, right? Focus, follow one course until successful. Guys, that's what you should be doing. You should not be looking to the left or to the right as you're doing this business. I know sometimes when you're in the learning curve, you're up and down, right? Mentally, you're learning how to get your feelings, your emotions, your mentality in check. Like, seriously, this is a mental game, right? But you just got to focus on one course until successful. That's it. And what are those? What does our course look like? It's super simple. Literally, it's the 10K club, the 5 pillars, the 3,500 minimum, the minimum of 10 presentations. Try to keep this business as simple as possible. And that's how it's easier to focus. Anything else that you want to add, Ash?
Oh my gosh. Laura, you were talking about how
Probably a lot.
when you got started as an agent, man, I sucked so bad at this. I think one of the big things that I scrambled through is I remember going to a house for the first time and I was like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And it was so funny, Laura, because most of you guys know I feel like I'm pretty extroverted by choice. And I realized my first year in 2015, I didn't do as great as I could have because I used my charm to wing it in these homes. And I felt like, oh, I can just skim it. I can wing it. I don't need to know about the active living benefits. I don't really need to understand universal life. And I don't really need to do the policy reviews, right? I could just smile and they could just be magnetized and say, yes, I want to buy life insurance from you. And I realized that's why I only made $50,000 in 2015, right? And again, man, if I could just restart my brain, restart the setting for back in 2015, there would have been a lot of things I would have done differently. And I love what you said about the clients will perceive you how you perceive yourself. And you can't compare yourself to someone else's story. This is your story, Bailey. This is your story, Kim. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're focusing, you're putting your blinders on, and it's like you and your coach. It's like, you got those 5 pillars, but then you also feel like this imaginary 6th pillar, Laura, of the rhythm between you and your coach. Right. And it's almost this vulnerability that you have with your coach where you're being honest with them and you're saying, hey, whoops. Yeah, I didn't track that activity tracker. And yeah, I should have told you what my deposits were last month. But the whole thing is our goal as a coach is to help pull out the best version of you. Whatever that looks like, it's not up to us. It's not our expectation. But as long as you're operating at standards of excellence, then guess what? Whatever your expectation is of whatever the best version is, that's what we hope for. And that's what we want to pull out. I love this, Laura. You say this a lot in your coaching. You say you're paid off the value, not the hours that you put in. This is huge, you guys. You're paid off the value, not the hours you put in. You ready for this? If I was going to go into a heart surgery tomorrow and I looked at this guy who was a surgeon of Duke, right? And if I said, sir, are you confident that when you put me under and you cut my heart open, do you have full confidence that I'm going to wake up? If he says, well, I'm 90% confident that everything will go okay. Do you think I want to go under his knife? No, not at all, right? So you got to make sure that you're not a fraud inside these seniors' homes, that you actually know what you're talking about. And if you don't know what you're talking about, then you need to call up and have somebody that is an expert that actually knows what they're talking about. Don't recommend an active living benefit to a senior and you've never even researched it. Again, this is why we've done the NASB quiz, right? This is why if you have not shown your direct coach at this point what your full presentation is, if they've not seen it during field training, if they've not seen your full presentation, you are already losing. You're losing. And you're like, oh, I'm a little embarrassed if I say that to, my coach, because, I'm a little nervous to do that in front of them. Guys, I would be a lot more nervous to do it real time in front of a senior that might be a little grumpy or might be a little bit hard versus my coach that can critique me and gut me. So what does a typical day look like for you? You ready for this? Your day should start off way before 7:30 a.m. In my opinion, you should be waking up anytime between the hours of like 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m., getting that morning routine going. Everything is based on your habits right now. You want to win. Well, it starts with winning your morning. right? If you don't have a successful morning, you're not going to have a successful afternoon or a successful evening. It all starts on how you wake up. So when you wake up, don't look at your cell phone. Whether it's going for a walk around the block, going to the gym, getting your mind right, doing a devotion, getting into a people skills book, mastering this trade, looking at an article when it comes to financial services, whatever that looks like, that's how you need to start your day. Go get a shower, and then you are ready to take notes on the 8:30 a.m. call. 9 o'clock, you're in your car, you're doing call aheads. And maybe it's about 5 or 10 call aheads. You're calling ahead to the senior, letting them know, hey, I'm on my way. I'll make you my next stop, right? Your goal is to do about 3 to 4 presentations a day. Now, if at this point you've been here for, let's say, 4 or 5 weeks, and the most amount of presentations you've done in a work week is 5, let's just hypothetically say that, then my goal for you, Laura's goal for you, is to push it to 6, push it to 7, because it's a lot harder in your mind, in your perspective, to shoot for 15 presentations, even though that's the benchmark. But we want to have little small win goals. Does that make sense? Let's see how you can actually do that. Shoot for 10 to 15, but realistically, hey, look, it's a win if we can see where you're actually measuring up. Proper call heads and door approaches. You should be telling your direct coach, hey, I'm looking at my activity tracker. Can we role play the door approach? Can we do this? If you're not reaching out to your direct coach, you guys, I legit, when I say I bug the Cracker Jacks out of Greg and Jordan, that's exactly what I did. Also, if you're not closing, if you're going into home after home after home, and your closing ratio is less than 50%, you need to call your direct coach immediately at the end of the day, not in the middle of the day. Have you realized that yet? You don't want to be calling your coach in the middle of the day because they're on the field and their goal is to answer in and up calls. If you want coaching, you do it before 8:30 a.m. or after probably 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Why? Because those are field hours right there. Proper step 4. If your closing's not right, it's because your step 4 isn't on point. We want to make sure that it's effective, it's efficient, and you want to role play that sucker. It should be 3 minutes long. If I was you and I wanted to master this thing, because in 2015, I winged it. 2016, I had a gutting from Jordan Smith because he said, hey, I would like for you to actually speak on stage. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool. And he's like, yeah, give me your step 4. And I'm like, all I said was, hey, who do you have for your life insurance? And guess what he said? No, I can't have you on stage. Ashley, we didn't teach you that. And I'm like, oh, dang, I guess I am really winging it, right? So this is why it's so important to systematically be a student, because the best students become the best teachers. Your step 4 has everything to do with closing. Now, what about that in and up? I know it's a little scary the first time you do it, but when you do that in and up, make sure you edify the benefit specialist first. Second, lead with diagnoses. Then you lead with the major prescriptions. Okay. Some of you are saying he doesn't have COPD. He's not a smoker. We don't need to know what he doesn't have. What we need to know is what he does have, right? If you tell us that he's, non-tobacco, he's got chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, he's on an inhaler, excellent. Are there any other medical diagnoses that we need to know about? Nope. Great. We don't need the list of 25 medications. So how about that, Laura? What else we got on the bone for that one?
I think that is so good. I do hear a lot of people when they're doing it in and up, they want to list all 25 medications. And then if you ask them what they're for, they don't know. So this is the thing. We don't need to know all of the medications, but what we do need you to do is to Google those medications and literally write down what they're for. And if there is a medication that pops up as like a red flag medication, like spiralactone, right? They tell you that they're taking spiralactone. And then I say, okay, do they have congestive heart failure? Well, they said they don't, right? After you've given me 25 medications, use that. Like, your job is to be a detective and to start putting the dots together and not taking the client's word for what they say, right? If you are an underwriter, that is your job. A field underwriter. You are the first line of defense to underwriting before it gets to the carrier. So you have to make those inferences of what does this medication mean as a condition? Thank God we have Google, right? It should be very simple to do. I just think that a lot of people, they're so used to going through the motions that they won't connect the dots, right? And it will hinder you in your learning curve. The other thing I wanted to add was, kind of going back to you're paid off of the value, not the hours that you put in, right? Ashley kind of talked about that already, but how quickly can you get this information in? How quickly can you get in the phone approaches, the door approaches, the presentations, right? Can you do it could take you 8 hours to do 3 presentations if you allow it to take you 8 hours. But what if you allow it to take you 5 hours to do that, right? You just gained 3 hours. If you're paid by the value, you have now more hours to bring more value. Does that make sense? Because what we'll see is that, people will use the entire time. When you get out in the field, like take 45 minutes. Most of you are going to have a 45-minute drive to the first house. Take that 45 minutes and it's call after call after call after call after call. You want to know what my biggest pet peeve is? I can't get anybody home. I couldn't get in 3 presentations today. At the end of your 90-day learning curve, for me, my goal for you is to be able to be dropped off at any part of the United States, any geographical location, and be able to get in 3 presentations, whether you have leads or not. Right? Because you know how to talk to the neighbors. You know how to find an apartment complex with a door open. You know how to look for I love Jesus signs that have a door open or an Oldsmobile, right? I'm serious. Guys, you got to learn to be resourceful. Ashley says it all the time. And so calling those call aheads in the morning, calling them in the afternoon, door knocking and doing the neighbor approaches in between those, those hours before or after your call aheads is crucial, right? There should not be a day where you can't get in 3 presentations. I'll be honest. Now, listen, there might be like this one day out of every 6 months that it can happen. But if you're actually following the system, like we say, and you're implementing and executing every single part, this should be so easy. It should be the most simplest business. The only thing that stops us is I don't want to do the phone. I'm scared of the phone. I'm scared of doing a neighbor knock, right? I don't want to talk to that person. It's uncomfortable, right? And then it's like this cycle that you maintain being in, and then you get comfortable with that, and then you feel like this doesn't work. Seriously, I see it every single day, right? And so hedge against that by getting uncomfortable as quickly as possible and getting in 3 presentations as quickly as you can. I'm the type of person, I want to knock something out. Like, I just want to say, okay, let me knock this out, right? Don't worry about the feelings. Just go ahead and knock it out. And then it just takes the pressure off of you. Front loading your week is another way that you can bring value to the hours that you're putting in, right? Front load your Monday and Tuesday. How many here know that we do like a, fast start Monday? Your goal should be on fast start Monday graphic, right? Because you had a fast start. You did 5 presentations, right? On Monday. You know what that does? It makes Tuesday a little bit easier. It makes Wednesday a little bit easier. It makes Thursday a little bit easier. It makes Friday a little bit easier, right? And then you can probably get referrals. You have follow-up from that big day, Monday or Tuesday. Let's see here. Anything else as far as with the proper call ahead, use the script. Literally, there's 5 elements to the phone approach. It's literally just like the 4 A's to the door approach. Keep it simple, silly, right? Don't reinvent it. Don't overcomplicate it. Use it to your advantage. And with the phone approach, your goal is to keep closed-ended questions and get off the phone as quickly as possible. For both the phone approach and the door approach, there's one technique that works really well to get the appointment and to continue the control of the conversation. Acknowledge and assume. Acknowledge and assume. Shake. Even they can feel you shaking over the phone. Your head, yes. I completely understand that you got a lot of things to do, Ms. Johnson, but so do I. Are mornings or afternoons better for you? I'm acknowledging what you said, and then I'm going back to assuming mornings or afternoons, your 2 time frames. Or if you're at the door, I completely understand, Ms. Johnson. I know that you got a lot of things to do. So do I. It gave me a lot of people I have to see today. Do you want to sit inside or outside? Acknowledge and assume, right? Pivot. Are you willing to run the distance when the distance is unknown? Can you believe that the purpose is still working even when the purpose is invisible? That kind of goes back to, what your purpose is every single day, right? It's to hit these benchmarks. That way, everything, like, you're not having to worry about the feelings of what you're doing every single day because it's just a numbers game, right? And so sometimes when you're knocking the door or you're making the phone call and you're getting 3 or 4 no's or no answers, or you're having to become resourceful to get the numbers in, are you able to go the distance when you can't see the finish line quite yet? It's going to be another hour before you see that finish line, right? That's what we're talking about. That's the mentality that we're talking about. You don't have a lack of resources. You have a lack of being resourceful. There are so many resources out there, guys. I'm giving you like a bunch right now, right? But you have to be resourceful. I actually was recruiting someone today at lunch at my favorite place, First Watch. Okay. And I asked her, I said, are you resourceful? I said, I want to know if you're resourceful because, we can give you all the tools, but can you make lemons or lemonade out of lemons? I want to know that. Right. And she goes, yeah. Right. We'll see if she is resourceful. I don't know yet. Right. But that's what we're talking about. You don't have a lack of resources. You have a lack of being resourceful. I think that's a lot that's on the bone. Last quarter success, this predictability is in the numbers. Last quarter is amazing because you get to see how you performed in the last 90 days. You should be looking at your numbers like your life depends on it. Okay. Look me in my eyeballs. You should be looking at your numbers like your life depends on it because it does. Your life and insurance depends on you being a numbers nerd. Okay. I was not a numbers nerd. I was like, Ashley, I just was like, I know it's going to work out. If I just keep working, it's going to work out. I'm fine. Everything's good. Right. Which is a great, thing to have, but you got to look at the numbers so you know when to run, you're fine, right? When to make that extra phone call, when to make that extra presentation. And you can see patterns. You can see your patterns. If you don't track the numbers, if you don't track the things that we tell you to track, you cannot see patterns and you cannot see when things are going astray. I actually was doing a coaching with an agent today. She got what was it? She wanted me to look at a illustration for a client, right? They had this policy. She was doing a replacement. And we had the illustrations and she's like, it doesn't make sense. You got to dig in deeper and actually look at the numbers, and it made total sense. But are we willing to actually look at the numbers and reflect? Half of our problem is that we're not willing to reflect. So track the numbers, but then reflect on the numbers so you can actually make a change. Does that make sense? Like, you got to do both. You got to execute and reflect. Let's see here. Execution creates conviction. The more you execute, the more you implement, that more action that you take, the more conviction you have in what you're doing, because you keep continuing to prove yourself right. The more action that you take, the more, if you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to do these 3 presentations today, and you execute that, right? That's a promise that you kept to yourself. And the promise that you kept to yourself creates the confidence that you need to have the conviction to close the sales. It's a cycle, right, of building yourself up, just like you are in the learning curve. Next is trackers. You want me to go with trackers, or you want to go ahead and start with trackers?
Yeah, I mean, I just love what you said about I'm literally putting in notes, obviously, for the next agent checkpoint, because this is just money right here. I love what you said about the execution creates conviction and confidence. And I love how the fact that when you create those two, the execution, conviction, confidence, it actually creates self-respect, right? You guys, you may not know this right now. I know a lot of you are motivated by money. You're excited about those deposits that are showing up right now. Or if you're brand new, you're just getting out there, you wrote your first app like Carson did yesterday, or like Alec did today. Look, it's really exciting. But the neat thing is that when you can see this thing, look, man, the biggest respect is the self-respect that you actually give yourself, right? You're going to earn it from everybody else. You're going to get the recognition. You're going to get the revenge. There's somebody out there that you want to prove wrong. I get it. I did that for like the first few years. I was all about revenge. Okay. I had a lot of people that thought I couldn't do this thing. All right. And I know for Laura too, that was one of our big money motivators was, man, I got a lot of people that I'm ready to prove to you. Watch me, right? When the world tells you can't do something, watch me. So let's go into 3 main points here. The first point is this: you cannot measure what you don't track. Laura had it dead on the head there when it comes to you've got to be a numbers nerd. I really didn't understand that until probably I was a sales manager. And Jordan and Greg kept saying all these formulas and all these numbers, and they kept predicting my success. Like they could predict my income. And I said, how in the world are you doing this? Right? I've only got maybe 2 or 3 agents with me, and it's me, and I'm writing 3,500 to 5,000 plus AP a week. How can you predict my income? And he was like, Ashley, it's all formulas. It's all predictable here. You're in the world of life insurance, right? Like actuaries and everything. You cannot measure what you don't track. Whenever I ask an agent, whether you're seasoned or you're a brand new agent, if I say, what did you make last month? Right? And let's say you've already been here for 90 days. If I say, what did you make in March? And you say, I don't know. I'm literally, I don't know about you, Laura, but it's just like, like I almost like, oh, I kind of like quench up a little bit because I'm like, are you a business owner or are you treating this thing like an employee? Right? I just don't understand that, because a business owner checks, reflects. He says to himself, she says to himself, herself, am I measuring up? Am I understanding everything that's going on? Because am I happy with what I made last month? Right? I always say this, shoot a text message to your direct coach on the first of every month for the whatever you made the previous month in deposits. You should know what you made last month. This is why we have one of those trackers. Ready for this? The daily activity tracker. So this is that point 1. Cannot measure what you don't track. The daily activity tracker proves to your coaches and it proves to yourself what your daily habits are. Okay? Period. I told you guys, I mean, it's like a cliche quote. Success is found in your daily routine. What you consider hard is really just a series of simple events that are easy. I mean, like if you really think about it, look, man, you put an iPad in my hand and I am at that door. I don't care what no comes my way. I don't care what grumpy senior comes my way. I'm going to go after it over and over and over again. Why? Because I've done it over and over and over and over again. I've mastered it. You're trying to get out of this learning curve. The faster you get out of it means you've got to make sure that you're doing a ton of presentations, right? It's almost like basketball. My son, Christian, he's 12. Boy, loves basketball. Hated it last year. Loves it this year. We're talking every day after school. Mom, can I shoot hoops? Can I shoot hoops? Hey, let's all go shoot hoops every day. That boy can do a 3-point shot right now, right? So your coach can't coach you without a daily activity tracker. If you're not updating that rascal every day, like you're not actually up. How do I explain this in the right way?
Not up to standard. I mean, plain and simple.
You're exactly right. We hired you based on your potential, but we hired you based on what you told us. You told us you had grit. You told us you had integrity and that you were honest. And that if I asked you to do something that had everything to do with your best intentions at heart to help you become successful, that what? You would do it, right? So sometimes when the hard comes, you really got to remember why you started this thing. And what's the plan B? I mean, like, what gets me so fired up is, my gosh, I know what it's like out there in corporate America. I know what it's like out there working back at Gold's Gym, 80 hours a week, frustrated, headache every single day, right? Having someone else tell me how much I'm worth. You get the opportunity to actually put that on your forehead as to what the appraisal is of your time. So here, just a couple more things with this point number 1. Your activity tracker proves how prepared you are for the day ahead. Okay. So with that activity tracker, you should look at that thing, like Laura's saying, is analyze it, reflect on it, look at it at nighttime and say, did I do everything that I really wanted to do today? Because this should be a priority for you. You want the income, the activity tracker should be a priority because it speaks to you. It shows you your blind spots. It shows you what your strengths are. And you're like, all of that with an activity tracker? Yes. I was talking to an agent earlier today, and they weren't tracking their activity tracker. And me and their direct coach were like, hey, we really need you to track this. Like, it's so vital because everything's attached to a leaderboard. And they were flabbergasted. They said, I had no idea that everything was tracked and everything. And you guys saw our progress. And I said, that's everything is the activity tracker. It shows those blind spots and it shows those hot spots, those strengths. Back to you, Laura.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much when it comes to the activity tracker. You know, we could literally say, hey, listen, you're struggling in your door approach. You're struggling in your transition to life insurance. A lot of times I'll take a look at this tracker and you might not know exactly what you need help with. To be honest, if I were to ask you and I would say, hey, listen, what do you feel based off of this that you're struggling with? A lot of times, until you're actually refined a little bit, you might tell me you have an activity problem when you have a closing problem, or that you have a closing problem when you really have an activity problem. And this makes it to where we're not coaching you on something that's not evident, right? How bad does it feel when someone has a conversation with you and there's constructive criticism, but it feels more like criticism, like you're being attacked, right? We don't want to do that. We want real accountability, but how can we hold you accountable if there's no data, right? You need the data. This is the data that we can say, hey, this right here, we're narrowing in. It has nothing to do with you as a person. It has to do with actually how the business works, right? And so it takes everything out of it and it honestly automates it, right? It automates your coaching. And so I love the fact that we have this. I can't believe that we ever did not have activity trackers the way that we have them now. I think it has the reason why you see folks not only hit 10K club, but 15K club, 20K club, 30K club is because of an activity tracker, and that they can actually reverse engineer what they need to do and see their blind spots and actually get correct coaching. It doesn't take talent. It's not an art. It's a discipline. Woo! Lord Jesus, did you hear me? It does not take talent. It's not an art. It's a discipline. Doing the tracker is a discipline. Everything in this business is a discipline. A relationship of accountability, screenshot to your coach nightly. Do it. Just like, don't even think about it. Ching, ching, send it over, right? It starts the conversation for us to have an opportunity to actually coach you without coming down your throat. I don't know about you, but I hate going down someone's throat. I don't want to be a boss. That's why I chose this business, right? But when you screenshot it to me, you're saying, hey, Laura, I'm acceptive of whatever accountability you have for me. Okay. So it puts it in your court, and then I can actually pour into you. Without it, it's really hard for me to pour into you. Then it's like me beating you on the head with a hammer. Do you want to be beat in the head with a hammer? Like literally, yes or no? Probably not. I hope not. Right. That's why you're all in this business. The best students turn into the best leaders, and you can't be the best student if you don't use it. Are you working part-time and having expectations of full-time results? Again, the activity tracker will show you. Sometimes you think you're working harder than you are. You might think that you're putting in all this time and all this energy, but it's in the wrong area. And so you're working harder, not smarter, or you're working harder mentally than you are actually like in the field. Okay. And again, the tracker is going to show you that. What distractions prevent you from reaching your goals? Again, we'll be able to see distractions based off of this, right? Weekly submitted AP tracker. I'm going to go ahead and jump to weekly submitted. Actually, before I do that, I just want to reiterate when it comes to the tracker. Anybody want to put in the chat, what is your presentation goal? Like quick, like a bunny, just put it in the chat. I want to see what numbers I get real fast. What you think those numbers are. Waiting in the chat. Just could have put it in there. Come on, guys. You can do it. 3 a day. Okay, what about a week? What's that goal a week? Thank you, Olivia. What's your goal? Nope. I see 8. There we go. Chris said 15 a week. Nail on the head. 15 a week, right? 15 a week. 15 to 20 a week. Okay, Olivia, there you go. High achiever there. Okay, exactly. What's your number? 15 a week. 15 a week. 15 a week. Okay. That's the NASB standard. All right, weekly submitted AP tracker. It predicts your promotions. Anybody here want to hit a promotion? Both hands raised. Yeah. Okay, great. Awesome. So the weekly activity tracker, or the weekly submitted AP tracker, is going to predict your promotions. Why? Because we can look at your submitted AP, what you're submitting every single week. Guys, your goal, what is it? Anybody else want to put your goal in the chat? Quick like a bunny. Anybody in the chat? What's your weekly goal? Anybody know? 3,500. Okay. That's your minimum. That's the minimum, 3,500. But what's the real goal? If you really want to make 6 figures, if you really want to hit 10K club, what's that number? It's 5,000. There you go, Chris. Good job. Good job. You guys really got it. It's 5,000, right? $83 premium a day, $5,000 a week is going to yield you $100,000 of commissions, right? $3,500 just keeps you standard. It's the base that you don't want to go below for chargebacks, for whatever, like just to keep you afloat in the business. But your goal is 5,000, right? And so that 5,000 is going to yield you 20,000 in a 4-week period. Your promotions are predicted off of cutting that number in half, right? If you submit 20,000, you should yield 10,000 net, which our promotions are based off of net numbers. Okay. So $83 premium a day, you can do that in a $50 premium and then a $23 premium, whatever you want to do. But it's 5,000 AP, $83 a day, right? Within a 3 presentation day. Let me put my glasses back on, guys. I was trying not to wear my glasses because I have contacts in too. I gotta get some help here. I'm in trouble. Okay. Power nights stretch you. Power nights. Yes, you want to have 2 power nights if you can. And all that means, the way that I do it, the way that I keep it simple is just, can I get in an extra presentation on that power day? I don't know about you, but I love doing more in less time, right? I like to be efficient. And so, yes, if I got to be out there till 8 o'clock at night, yes, as a power night. But the real goal would, can you get 5 presentations in by 6 o'clock? Heck yeah, right? By being efficient, by using the door approaches with the neighbor knocks, by using the phone approaches, right? But a power night, some of those nights, you're going to have to push for that extra presentation or 2, right? So that's a goal. When you have a power night, to get in 5 presentations instead of 3, or to go, an extra hour or 2, or to be in a house by 5 o'clock, right? Whatever way that your brain works for a power day or a power night, everyone looks at it a little bit different or thinks about it a little bit different, in my opinion, on what motivates them to actually stay out, right? Let's see here. Monthly net AP report should bring clarity on how you are as an agent, right? Monthly net AP. So if you take a look at your submitted report, but your net report ain't nowhere close to what it should be, okay, there's a coaching moment, right? Are you writing business correctly? Are you following through? Are you having more people cancel? Why? Okay, well, now we know where to narrow in and zero in to help you sooner rather than later. Anybody here like to linger and not know why they're having trouble, or why they have a policy fall off, or why they can't hit the numbers? I don't know about you, but I don't like that. So when you track your submitted AP and then you can compare it to the net AP, it takes the guesswork out and we can narrow in. All the trackers talk to each other. Okay. We're not doing this just to micromanage. It's to literally give you systems that are sustainable in this business over the longevity of your career. Right? Let's see here. If it's lower, that means that you have a problem with keeping business on the books. We got to fix that. It boils down to step 10, the post-close and branding, right? Let's see here. Are you doing enough? Embrace necessary obstacles until growth happens. That's just a little acronym that we like. We talk about all the time. Ashley, you made that up, right? Okay. Embrace necessary obstacles until growth happens. Anybody love obstacles? Like, love them? No. Come on. Nobody loves them, right? But you have to embrace them. You don't have to love them, just like you're not going to love every aspect of any business, but you have to embrace the obstacles until you actually grow through them, right? Yep. So that is going to be that tracker. Anything that's left on the bone, or if you want to talk about the deposit tracker, Ash.
Yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal job. And can you guys see how Laura hit junior partner and on her way to full partner? I'm so excited for that because you can hear it in her voice. You can feel the conviction. Please write this down. The height of your capacity is determined by the depth of your conviction, right? The height of your capacity, how you broaden those shoulders that everybody wants, how you broaden your perspective, right? Is all determined by the depth of your conviction, that firm belief that, this is the absolute best opportunity with the best people that I get to call buddies with, that I get to travel the world with. And you guys, do you have that conviction? Not yet, but you're developing it. You can see it. That's why it's called faith. Maybe you can't see it, but you're trusting, you're holding on to our coattails, and you're just hoping and you're believing, but you're believing and not doubting. I believe that there's a big difference there. You're believing and you're hoping for the best. You're not doubting every single step that you take. Nobody wants to work with somebody that doubts this thing, right? You're telling me that if you do 15 presentations this week and next week and the next week and the next week, You're telling me that you're not going to make over $8,000 of income at a minimum? I dare you. I double dog dare you. How bad do you need it? How bad are you willing to fight for it? Be irreplaceable. Be irreplaceable to these seniors. Otherwise, if you're not, they will replace you. Someone else will come in that actually gives them the value that they need. Not that they want, but the value that they deserve, the value that they need. And, I remember Max Graham saying this. He said, look, if I give you $5, okay, so all of you right now, this opportunity is exactly this. Ready? You give $5 and I'm going to give you back 20. That's a pretty good investment, don't you think? Hey, you give me $5, give me $5. That's your work ethic. And then I'm going to spit out 20 bucks. Pretty good return on investment, don't you think? How many things, how much evidence, how much data do we have to show you over the course of 10 years of what NASB's done for you to actually see this thing for what it really is? Now you just got to play your part. Are you going to sit on the sidelines? Or are you actually going to go ahead and play the game, right? I love this. What's more important? What's more important, placement or persistency? Placement of your policies or persistency? And I want you to write this down because this is very, very, very important to your longevity of your career here. It doesn't matter what you place. What matters is what you keep. Does that make sense? Yes, placement is important, right? Of course, we want to make sure that our policies are being placed. But more than anything, we want to make sure that the persistency of this policy goes for years upon years upon years upon years, right? You want your persistency to be over 70%. You want it to be over 70%. If you're like, Ashley, how do I figure that out? Call the carrier. Call the carrier. They'll tell you what your persistency is. A lot of times in your back office, it'll tell you exactly what your persistency is. Ashley, I don't know how to navigate through my back office. We told you that in phase 2, how to physically contact what? Contact those carriers. It's not our job to show you that. You need to step up, gain that forced responsibility, and take action. You're a business owner right now, right? You wanted us to treat you like that. So guess what? Giddy up, rise up, raise the bar. Because if you don't raise the bar, what happens? You're going to fear the consequence. And some of you right now are living in the consequences of the decisions that you made 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last month, yesterday. You're living in today's consequences from the lack of whatever work ethic that you did, the lack of not mastering this thing. You've been watching basketball, right? Versus what? Studying this thing, right? So here we go next up. And this is our third point, and then we'll be almost done, okay? Your monthly deposit tracker. Why is it important for you to track your income? Why is it important for you to track your deposits? The reason why it's important to track your deposits is because it prepares you for what to change. It prepares you for what to change, and it proves your work ethic, your studentship, your conviction, your belief, your fight, right? That's what it does. When I see Elisa Smith, who was Rookie of the Year last year, made over $90,000 last year. She's what? I think in her late 50s, okay? Was working in the banking industry, never made more than $3,000 in a month. First month here, over a year ago, in January of 2022, she made over $8,000. Second month in February, guess what? She made $9,000. Third month, I said, I double dog dare you to make $10,000. Let's go, Lisa. She did. What'd she make the next month? $11,000. She is, I don't want to say the word introvert. She's a little shy, right? She doesn't ride with a lot of people. She prefers to ride by herself, right? But she's got a big competition because she competes against herself. It's you versus you. It's you versus you. It's you versus you. Okay. So when it comes to your deposit tracker, you want to beat better than your best. That is one of the biggest motivators every single month. I love adding up my deposits. And I love going up to Dustin and saying, baby, I do this every single month. Guess what we made last month? And he's like, what did we make? And I'm like, just guess. And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, right? And then I text Greg and Jordan and Craig Harvey. And I'm like, dude, this is what I made last month. This is cool as crap, or this sucks. Gut me, coach. What can I do differently this month? You see, that's the whole point of the deposit tracker, is it shows not what you can do better at, because if you suck, how do you get better at sucking? That doesn't compute in my brain. But if we can do something different, then that's what makes you better, right? It shows the harvest of your sowing. So when you're sowing those seeds out there, it shows the harvest is in your deposits. If you're not happy with your deposits, it's because you didn't sow enough. You didn't sow enough. Perhaps sowing in the investment of leads, perhaps sowing in the investment of communicating with your direct coach, maybe perhaps sowing the seeds of actually mastering your presentation. If I called you today, would you know the 10 steps? Would you? Could you do your step 4 with me? Could you tell me what leave behind material you actually leave to the senior? Could you tell me what the 5 things are? Are you leaving the life insurance buyer's guide? Are you leaving your business card? Oh, I forgot to do that. Really? Why aren't you at Staples? Why didn't you go to Staples? How about your schedule? You're not sowing enough hours in your schedule to actually make this thing work. Could you imagine Michael Jordan saying, yeah, I only practice 1 day a week, and that's how I became an all-star basketball player? What? No, he practiced this thing every single day. You are sowing the best version of you as an agent. What habits are you sowing every day that display your discipline? Every day. You think I like working out at the gym? Heck freaking no. No, I don't like working out at the gym. Legit, I don't. But then guess what? I like the result of it. That doesn't mean you have to like this arena, right? But I love the results it gives me, right? When you can plan a trip, like I'm going next week to New York City. And then, gosh, I think it's like the week after that, I'm going to the Omni Grow Park Inn. And then I think the week after that, me and the kids are going to Florida somewhere. And then I think in a couple months, we're going to an Alaskan cruise with my parents, because I don't know what's going on, with my father and then my father-in-law. Like their health isn't that great. What if this was my last year with them? Did I live with them? You see, when you actually decide to act and execute and give yourself the ability to go all in with this thing, 3, 4, 5 years from now, you'll be able to do whatever you want. Make sense? All right. Being rich is hard. Being wealthy is hard. Being significant is hard, but so is being poor. So is being lazy. You've got to choose your hard, which one it's going to be. You got to choose your hard. Laura, as we wrap up with this thing, let's kind of, wrap this bad boy into a bow here.
Yeah. So if you got anything, it's literally just boiling it down to keeping it simple, focus on the system. Don't go to the left or to the right, right? You have an ability to be creative, to be you. There's only one Ashley Colie. There's only one Laura Muse. There's only one Frank. There's only one Bailey, right? So you get to be you, but you got to follow the system. You have to hone the system. This is your craft. Okay. This is your craft. I have a background in acting, right? Long time ago, another life, right? And everybody, like when you have an audition, there's a script. You have, like, there's a writer, they have an intent in mind, but you're the creative person that brings it to life, right? But you got to know the script. You got to know it. You can't veer to it yet. You have to understand it. You have to internalize it. And that's what we want you to do. And that's why we do this call. So a few things that you can do to make sure that you're honing your craft, right? To make more money, to make more of an impact. Be on the rip. It's every Tuesday. Ash and I run it, and it's to help grow you, develop you, make you better, to be able to do what? Hit the standard of the 10K club. Okay. The remedial improvement performance plan. That is a mouthful. Remedial improvement performance plan for all of you blonde chicks or guys like me. Okay. All right. Now, what I want you guys to do, we talked a lot about self-reflection. We talked a lot about thinking deeper to actually uncover better ways to make you better, right? I want you guys to, on a scale of A through F, like literally grade yourself and text it to your direct coaches with Ashley and I attached. Okay. And these couple areas to see how you measure up so far and the things that are important in this business. And then you kind of know, okay, this is where I measure up, and then ask for coaching in those areas so you can actually become better and develop more. Here we go. There are 14 areas, 14. So follow me. We're going to close up. Door approach. Rate yourself on your door approach. Look at your activity tracker and rate yourself on your door approach. Do you feel confident, comfortable? Or are you still winging it? Your call ahead. Are you choosing one over the other? Call ahead or the door approach. Okay. You got to be good at both. Don't get good at one and skip on the other one. You want to be a well-rounded agent. Okay. So your call ahead, door approach. Do you know the 4 A's? Do you know the 5 elements of the door approach? And if I were to call you right now, can you give it to me without feeling like, I don't know what to say, right? The 10 steps to the presentation. Do you know the 10 steps? Do you have them internalized? Do you know the why behind the what? Why do we do step 1, connect, step 2, credibility, step 3, living benefits, step 4, transition to life insurance? Why don't we just start with step 4 of life insurance? Why don't we do that? Right? Ask yourself those questions. Have you mastered it? Number 5, active living benefits. This is a grocery cart. We don't expect you to know everything and all things with it, but you got to know a few, and you have to understand a little bit of how you can help a senior. Okay, so rate yourself on active living benefits. Electronic applications. Do you know how to find them, or do you rely on your direct coach when you're in the home to walk you through it, to stop and take 10 or 15 minutes to do that with you, or to do quotes? Okay, are you getting efficient with the technology? Call them and they will walk you through it. Book of business. Are you on track and keeping up with your book of business? Are you making sure that you're color coding it so you can actually see? Some people are visual. If you're visual, can you see? Do you have more green than you do red? Right? Green is good for go. They're on the books. Red means they're declined or they've come off the books, right? Where do you see more of? Back office pending follow-up. Your fortune is found. Look at my eyeballs. Your fortune, this is what my 4-year-old says. Look at my face. Look at my face. Your fortune is found in your follow through. This business is about how you start and how you finish. Do you hear what I'm saying? This business is how you start on Monday and how you finish every deal that you write. Okay. So rate yourself on that. Attitude. Do you have stinking thinking? Oh, do you know it all because you've been in sales before? Oh my God. No. Okay. Seriously. What is your attitude like? Do you have a good positive attitude? Positive communication? Are you humble? Are you coachable? Yes or no? Like, be vulnerable and brutally honest, because you're never going to get better if you're not. Are you a team player? Are you a team player? Okay. Because the more of a team player you are, the better you do. I'm not kidding you at all. You can be a top performer and you will stay and you will not grow because you don't know what it's like to actually give to a team. You don't have the empathy. You don't have the emotional intelligence that's going to take you to the next level. Okay. The next one. Do you do what you say that you're going to do? Do you do what you say you're going to do? You don't have to say that you're going to do all of these things. I'd rather you say less and do more than to say more and do less. Okay. Do you trust the system? This says, do you trust the system? Do you trust the process? And do you trust the people that you're in business with? Okay. Do you trust? Because without trust, there's nothing. How can I trust you if you don't trust me? How can I trust you in the home to represent me, to represent NASB, if you don't trust me? It's got to be a two-way street. If there's no trust and you're like, why are you even here? If there's that little inkling, seriously, ask yourself. One level of effort is all in, and you can't be all in if there's a lack of trust. And find out where it stems from and why. What's the next one? What are you taking for granted? Sorry, Ashley's over here taking notes and changing stuff around as we're going. Hello, welcome to working together for 7 years. What do you take for granted? Literally, you need to have an attitude of gratitude. It's the hardest thing, seriously. Like, whatever level that you're at, whatever you're going through. Like, sometimes right now, I could pinch myself if this was me back in 24, like when I was 24, and I could look to see where I'm at now, I would literally pinch myself. I would cry and I'd say, get me there now. I would. But yeah, I still find myself, because I'm human, with a lack of gratitude. Okay. And that's me being honest with you guys. So if it's happening to me, guess what? I know it's happening to you, but you got to catch yourself when it happens. Okay. Be thankful that you have an opportunity in front of you that you can change the trajectory of your life. You can hone a skill that you can buy back your time. Now, don't get me wrong. I still feel like I work a lot, but I have bought back my time. And you can too, but you got to hone the system. You have to hone the craft. And that's all I got. think we're good.
You know, it's
Go to
almost like
closing.
I literally dropped the mic. I want you guys to write this down. Fear only respects you when you face it. Some of you guys right now, you fear something. Maybe you fear loss. Maybe you fear failure. Whatever that fear is, you need to face it, right? Whatever you feel that you're weak at, I need you to face it. You see, the enemy wants to come after you really hard because he knows what's inside of you. He knows what your potential is. This is what we hired you on, is we could see not just of who you were today, but we can see down the road, years down the road. We believed you when you said, hey, look, I want to be the biggest player on this team. And now we gave you the platform, we gave you the resources, we're giving you the training, we're giving you the leadership. We're not sitting here on a platform saying, oh yeah, we wish it would happen. You see, I believe that NESP is the only IMO out there that we actually sell the reality. We don't sell the dream. Okay. We're already living the dream because we all started exactly where you are right now. And we made a decision to make a commitment and to stay committed. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. I'm going to actually go ahead and stop the recording. Bear with me once.